Elena never thought of herself as someone special, despite the zeros in her husband's bank account. She still drove the same reliable blue sedan she'd owned before meeting Gabriel. She still volunteered 3 times a week at the community center downtown. And she still preferred her simple cotton dresses to the designer labels that filled the closets of other women in their social circle. On this particular Tuesday morning, Elena hummed quietly while arranging fresh-cut flowers from their garden. Sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows of their home. Large and beautiful, yes, but nowhere near as ostentatious as what Gabriel could afford. That had been Elena's influence. "We don't need a mansion," she'd told him when they were house hunting. "Just somewhere that feels like home." Gabriel appeared in the doorway, his tall frame still impressive in a casual sweater and jeans despite being in his late 40s. The morning light caught the silver threading through his dark hair. "Those look beautiful," he said, nodding at her flower arrangement, like the woman who arranged them. Elena smiled but shook her head. 15 years of marriage and her husband's compliments still made her blush. "You're biased." "Proudly so." Gabriel poured himself coffee and leaned against the counter. "Any plans today?" "The usual Tuesday schedule. I'm helping Mrs. Chen with the after-school reading program, then meeting with the fundraising committee for summer camp scholarships." Elena adjusted a yellow daffodil. "What about you?" "I thought you had that meeting with investors from Singapore, rescheduled to next week." "Their flight got delayed." He checked his watch. "But I do have a video call with the Tokyo office in 30 minutes. Elena nodded, familiar with the rhythm of her husband's international business dealings. Gabriel had built his tech company from nothing, a fact that impressed her far more than the wealth it eventually generated. His work ethic and integrity had been what drew her to him. When they first met at a community fundraiser where she'd been volunteering, and he'd been a reluctant attendee, dragged along by a business associate. "Oh," Elena said, suddenly remembering, "the invitations for the Bellwood Charity Gala should be arriving today or tomorrow. Will you be in town that weekend?" "It's the first weekend in June." Gabriel made a face. "Another stuffy event with the same people talking about their vacation homes?" "It's for the Children's Education Fund," she reminded him gently. "And you don't have to stay the whole time." "For the children, then," Gabriel agreed with a dramatic sigh that made Elena laugh. "And for you, since I know how much the program means to you." Elena's expression softened. The education initiative had been her passion project long before she met Gabriel. Starting as a small tutoring program in the community center basement, it had grown to provide educational opportunities for hundreds of underprivileged children across the city. The annual gala was its biggest fundraising event. "I should get going," Elena said, checking the time. "Mrs. Chen gets anxious if I'm late, and the kids will be arriving at 3:30. Gabriel leaned in for a kiss. "I'll see you tonight." "Love you." "Love you too," she replied, grabbing her worn leather bag and car keys. The community center bustled with activity when Elena arrived. Located in one of the city's less affluent neighborhoods, the red brick building had been her second home for nearly 20 years. She'd started volunteering there right after college, determined to make a difference in the lives of children who reminded her of herself growing up. Bright, but without access to resources. "Elena, thank goodness you're here," called Mrs. Chen, a retired teacher whose energy belied her 70 years. The new books arrived, but they sent the wrong reading levels. "I've been on the phone with the publisher for an hour." Elena set down her bag. "Let me handle it. You finish setting up the activity tables." By the time she'd sorted out the book situation and the children began arriving, Elena had forgotten all about the gala invitations. The afternoon passed in a blur of reading sessions, homework help, and the controlled chaos that came with 20 elementary schoolers learning to express themselves. It wasn't until she was packing up that she overheard 2 other volunteers talking by the supply closet. "Did you get your invitation to the Bellwood Gala?" asked Priya, a college student who volunteered on Tuesdays and Thursdays. "Yesterday," replied Denise, one of the center's part-time staff members. "I was surprised to be included this year. Usually it's just the committee members and big donors." "I heard they expanded the list," Priya said. "Sophia Reynolds is chairing the committee now, and she wants to infuse new energy into the event, whatever that means." Elena paused, her hands full of colored pencils that needed sorting. Sophia Reynolds was a newcomer to their city, the wife of a hedge fund manager who had moved into the exclusive lakeside neighborhood 6 months ago. Elena had met her briefly at a school board meeting and found her perfectly pleasant, if somewhat focused on appearances. "Did you get an invitation?" Denise asked Priya. "Me? No way. But I'm helping my professor with the presentation about the scholarship recipients. We're putting together slides showing the impact of last year's fundraising. What about you, Elena? You're going, right?" Elena looked up, realizing the conversation had turned to include her. "I should be," she said with a smile. "I haven't checked the mail today." "Of course you'll be there," Denise said confidently. "You started the whole education initiative. It wouldn't exist without you." Elena shrugged off the praise. "Many people contributed. It's always been a community effort." Later that evening, Elena pulled into their driveway just as the mail carrier was leaving. She waved and collected the stack of envelopes from their mailbox, flipping through them as she walked to the front door. Bills, a magazine, an advertisement for landscaping services, but no cream-colored envelope with the Bellwood Charity Foundation's embossed logo. "Probably tomorrow," she murmured to herself, pushing away a small flicker of unease. But the invitation didn't come the next day, or the day after. By Friday, when Gabriel mentioned seeing his own invitation on his desk at work, Elena realized something was wrong. The personal invitation addressed only to Gabriel had been delivered to his office, with no mention of a +1. "That's odd," Gabriel frowned, loosening his tie as they sat in their living room after dinner. "Maybe yours was lost in the mail." "Maybe," Elena agreed, though she didn't believe it. The foundation was meticulous about its correspondence. She waited until Monday to make a casual inquiry, calling the foundation office under the pretense of confirming some details for the event program. The administrative assistant, Kelly, had worked with Elena for years. "Oh, Elena," Kelly said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "I thought you knew." Sophia revised the guest list completely. She said. Kelly paused, clearly uncomfortable. "It's okay," Elena assured her. "What did she say?" "She said the event needed more polish this year to attract bigger donors." She went through the list and, well, she removed people she thought didn't fit the new image. Kelly's voice conveyed her disagreement with the decision. "I tried to tell her how important you've been to the foundation, but she just said it was final." Elena felt a strange hollowness in her chest. "I see. She doesn't know who you're married to, Elena. She's new here. If she knew Gabriel was your husband—" "Please don't mention that," Elena interrupted gently. "It doesn't matter." After hanging up, Elena sat quietly at the kitchen table. It wasn't about hurt pride. She'd never cared much about social status. What bothered her was being erased from something she had helped build, something that mattered to the children who benefited from the programs. When Gabriel came home that evening, he immediately sensed something was wrong. Elena tried to brush it off, focusing instead on the pasta she was preparing for dinner. "It's nothing important," she insisted, stirring the sauce with more force than necessary. Gabriel leaned against the counter beside her, arms crossed. 20 years together, counting dating, and you think I can't tell when something's bothering you?" Elena sighed, setting down the wooden spoon. "I called about the gala invitation today. And I wasn't forgotten. I was removed." She looked up at him, attempting a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Apparently I don't have enough polish for the new direction of the event." Gabriel's expression darkened. "That's ridiculous. You founded the education initiative." "It's fine," Elena said, resuming her stirring. "It's just one event." "It's not fine," Gabriel replied, his voice quiet but firm. "It's disrespectful and it's wrong." Elena reached for his hand. "Please don't make a fuss. That would only make things awkward for everyone. The important thing is that the gala raises money for the programs." Gabriel squeezed her hand but remained silent. Elena knew that look. The one that meant her kind-hearted husband was quietly calculating something in that brilliant mind of his. She just hoped whatever he was planning wouldn't cause too much of a stir. What she didn't realize was that by excluding her, Sophia Reynolds had made a significant miscalculation, one that would have consequences beyond anything she could have anticipated. The next morning, Gabriel was unusually quiet as they moved through their routine. Elena noticed how he checked his phone more frequently than normal, typing rapid messages between sips of coffee. "Everything okay with work?" she asked, sliding a plate of toast across the kitchen island. Gabriel looked up, his expression clearing. "Just some things I need to sort out. Nothing serious." He pocketed his phone and smiled. "What's on your schedule today?" Meeting with the summer camp director at 10, then helping with applications for families who need financial assistance. Elena buttered her toast, trying to put thoughts of the gala behind her. What about you? Board meeting at 9, then lunch with Thomas from legal. Gabriel took a bite of toast, chewed thoughtfully, then added, and I might stop by the foundation office this afternoon. Elena's hand paused halfway to her mouth. Gabriel. Just to drop off some paperwork for the donation, he said innocently. Too innocently. What paperwork? What donation? Elena set down her toast. You haven't made a donation to the education fund yet this year. You always wait until the gala. Gabriel shrugged. I thought I'd do things differently this time. Please don't make a scene, Elena said quietly. It's not worth it. Gabriel reached across the island and took her hand. You've dedicated years to helping those kids. You started the whole program from nothing, and now this woman who's been here 5 minutes decides you're not good enough to attend? That's not right, Elena. It's her first year chairing the committee. She's trying to make her mark. By erasing yours? Gabriel shook his head. No, that's not how this works. Elena sighed. She knew that determined set of his jaw all too well. Just promise me you won't do anything that would hurt the foundation or the children's programs. That's all I care about. I would never do anything to hurt your work, Gabriel promised, squeezing her hand. Trust me. Despite her husband's assurances, Elena felt uneasy as she drove to the community center. Gabriel was protective of her, always had been, even before they were married. It was one of the things she loved about him, but sometimes his protective instincts ran a bit hot when he felt she'd been slighted. At the center, Elena threw herself into her work, helping families navigate the complicated paperwork for summer camp scholarships. Many of the parents worked multiple jobs, spoke limited English, or had little experience with formal applications. Elena moved from table to table in the crowded room, explaining requirements, double-checking information, and reassuring nervous parents. Miss Elena, will my boys get to go this year? Asked Mrs. Ortiz, a single mother of twins who worked night shifts at the hospital. Last year was so good for them. We'll do everything we can, Elena promised, helping her complete the income verification section. Your boys are wonderful students, and the camp director mentioned how much they contributed last summer. By lunchtime, Elena had helped 20 families complete their applications. She was gathering her things when Priya rushed into the room, eyes wide with excitement. Elena! You won't believe what's happening at the foundation office. Elena's stomach dropped. What do you mean? What's happening? Your husband is there with his lawyer. They're in a closed meeting with the board and Sophia Reynolds. Kelly just texted me. She says Sophia looks like she's seen a ghost. Elena closed her eyes briefly. Gabriel? I didn't know Gabriel was the Gabriel Martinez, Priya continued, clearly impressed. The tech guy who's on the cover of Business Weekly. Kelly says Sophia had no idea who you were married to. That's not important, Elena said, gathering her papers more quickly now. Did Kelly say anything else? Just that they've been in there for over an hour, and Sophia went in looking confident and came out for water looking shaken. Priya leaned closer. Is it true that your husband is pulling his annual donation because of what Sophia did? I don't know anything about that, Elena said truthfully. Gabriel hadn't mentioned withdrawing his support, which was substantial, though he always insisted it be anonymous, listed only as private donor in the foundation's materials. Elena checked her phone and found 3 missed calls from Gabriel and a text. Meeting running long. We'll explain everything at dinner. Don't worry. That, of course, only made her worry more. When she arrived home that evening, Gabriel's car was already in the driveway. She found him in his home office, jacket off and sleeves rolled up, focused on his laptop screen. What did you do? She asked from the doorway. Gabriel looked up, his expression softening when he saw her. Nothing terrible. Priya said you were at the foundation with Thomas. I was. He closed his laptop and gestured for her to come in. I had some concerns about the foundation's governance that needed addressing. Elena sat in the chair across from his desk. Gabriel, please tell me you didn't threaten to withdraw funding because of me. Not exactly. He leaned back. I simply pointed out that the bylaws of the foundation, which I helped draft 5 years ago, if you recall, specifically state that founding members of initiatives cannot be excluded from events celebrating those initiatives without board approval. Elena blinked. The board never voted on the guest list? Precisely. Sophia took it upon herself to make those decisions without proper authorization. Gabriel's smile was small but satisfied. The board was quite concerned when Thomas laid out the potential legal implications. Legal implications? Gabriel, that sounds like a threat. Not a threat, a clarification of the rules. He stood up and came around the desk, perching on its edge near her. The foundation exists to help children access education. You've been instrumental in that mission from day one. Excluding you wasn't just unkind, it was counter to the foundation's own governing principles. Elena sighed. And now? And now the board is reviewing the guest list thoroughly. Gabriel took her hand. But that's not all. Something in his tone made Elena look up sharply. What else did you do? I may have mentioned that my annual contribution would be redirected this year. Not withdrawn, just redirected to a new initiative under the foundation's umbrella. What new initiative? Gabriel's eyes sparkled with that look he got when he was particularly pleased with an idea. The Elena Martinez Scholarship Fund, dedicated to helping first-generation college students from our community centers pursue degrees in education and social work. Elena stared at him. You didn't, I did. With a starting endowment of $10 million, Gabriel. Elena stood up, emotions warring within her, shock, embarrassment, and a reluctant admiration for his creative solution. That's too much. It's exactly right, he countered. You've been saying for years that we need more teachers and social workers who come from the communities they serve. This creates a pipeline for exactly that. Elena paced the office. The board agreed to this? Enthusiastically. Especially when I mentioned that several of my business associates were interested in contributing as well. And Sophia? Gabriel's expression turned slightly more reserved. She was educationally enlightened about the history of the foundation and your role in it. I believe she now has a much clearer picture of the community she's serving. Elena wasn't sure whether to laugh or scold him. You're impossible. I prefer strategic. He stood and pulled her gently into his arms. No one dismisses my wife's contributions, especially not when those contributions have changed hundreds of lives for the better. Despite herself, Elena felt a warm glow of appreciation. Not for the money. Gabriel had always been generous with that, but for his unwavering belief in her work, his respect for what she had built long before they met. There's one more thing, Gabriel said, looking slightly hesitant now. What? Elena asked suspiciously. Your invitation to the gala will be hand-delivered tomorrow, along with a personal letter from the board acknowledging your foundational role in the education initiative. Elena groaned. Gabriel, I don't need that kind of recognition. It's embarrassing. It's not just for you, he insisted. It's for all the volunteers who came after you, who need to know that their contributions matter and will be respected. It's for the kids who look up to you. He touched her cheek gently. And yes, it's a little bit to make sure that Sophia understands who she's dealing with. Later that evening, as they prepared dinner together in their kitchen, Gabriel chopping vegetables while Elena stirred sauce on the stove, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from Kelly at the foundation office. You won't believe what happened after your husband left. The message read. Sophia tried to argue against the new scholarship program, and 3 board members reminded her that she serves at their pleasure. She's been surprisingly quiet ever since. Also, she asked for your home address to deliver something personally tomorrow. I hope that's okay. I gave it to her. See you at the gala? Elena showed the message to Gabriel, who read it and handed the phone back without comment, though his eyes crinkled at the corners. You're enjoying this, aren't you? She accused lightly. I'm enjoying the fact that your work will continue to be recognized and supported, he corrected. And if certain people learned a valuable lesson about respect and community in the process, well, that's just a bonus. Elena shook her head, but she was smiling now. Tomorrow would bring whatever it would bring, including apparently a very uncomfortable Sophia Reynolds at her doorstep. But tonight she felt a quiet vindication that had nothing to do with money or social standing and everything to do with the simple acknowledgement of years of dedicated work. And if her billionaire husband had played a part in that acknowledgement, well, perhaps that was simply what partners did for each other. They stood up and said, this person matters. Their work matters. In the end, that was all Elena had ever wanted. Not recognition for herself, but for the cause she believed in. The doorbell rang precisely at 10 the next morning. Elena, who had been working from home, set down her coffee mug and smoothed her simple cotton dress before answering. Sophia Reynolds stood on the porch, looking nothing like the confident woman Elena had briefly met months ago. Today, Sophia's perfectly highlighted hair was pulled back in a hasty ponytail, and the usual polished makeup had been applied with less precision than normal. She clutched a cream-colored envelope and a small gift bag. "Elena," she said, her smile strained. "Thank you for seeing me without notice." "Of course," Elena replied, opening the door wider. "Would you like to come in? I just made coffee." Sophia hesitated, clearly surprised by the warm welcome. Yes, thank you." Elena led her through to the kitchen, noting how Sophia's eyes darted around, taking in the home's tasteful but modest decor, not the mansion she had probably expected from a billionaire's wife. "Your home is lovely," Sophia said, perching on a stool at the kitchen island while Elena poured coffee into a mug. "So comfortable." "We like it," Elena said simply, sliding the mug across the counter. "Cream or sugar?" "Black is fine, thank you." Sophia set the envelope and gift bag on the counter, fidgeting with her wedding ring. "Elena, I owe you an apology." Elena sat across from her, cupping her own mug. "For what exactly?" The direct question seemed to catch Sophia off guard. She took a sip of coffee, then set the mug down carefully. "For removing you from the gala guest list. It was presumptuous and disrespectful, especially given your history with the foundation." Elena nodded, neither accepting nor rejecting the apology yet. "Why did you do it?" Sophia's cheeks flushed. I was trying to elevate the event. To attract bigger donors." She looked down at her hands. "The truth is, I was told that to make an impact in this city, I needed to run a successful fundraiser. My husband's colleagues' wives suggested I take over the Bellwood Gala since it was—" She stopped abruptly. "Since it was what?" Elena prompted. "Since it was more accessible than some of the other charity events," Sophia finished reluctantly. "They said it would be easy to make my mark because it wasn't as exclusive." "I see." Elena took a sip of coffee. "And you thought excluding the original founders would make it more exclusive?" "I didn't know you were a founder," Sophia said quickly. "No one told me. I just saw your name on the regular volunteer list and I assumed—" She broke off again, seeming to realize how bad this sounded. "You assumed I was just another community center volunteer," Elena finished for her. "Not worth including." Sophia looked miserable. It was elitist and horrible. "I see that now." Elena studied the woman across from her. Sophia was probably in her mid-30s, expensively dressed even in casual clothes, with the slightly desperate look of someone trying hard to find her place in a new social circle. "How long have you been in the city, Sophia?" The question seemed to surprise her. 6 months. Richard's firm transferred him here from Boston. "Do you know many people yet?" Sophia shook her head. "Not really. Richard works long hours, and I've been trying to get involved in charity work to meet people." But she trailed off, then admitted, "It's been harder than I expected to break into established groups." Elena nodded, remembering her own early days in the city, fresh out of college with no connections. Community can be hard to find. "Your husband explained how much the education initiative means to this community," Sophia said, pushing the envelope across the counter. "And how much you mean to it. The board wanted me to personally deliver your invitation and extend their sincere apologies for the oversight." "Oversight," Elena repeated, a hint of amusement in her voice. "Is that what they're calling it?" Sophia winced. "That was my diplomatic phrasing, not theirs. They were quite direct about my error in judgment." Elena accepted the envelope but didn't open it. "And the scholarship fund? Was that their idea too?" "No, that was entirely your husband's proposal. The board jumped at it immediately." Sophia looked at Elena with newfound respect. "I had no idea who Gabriel Martinez was when I took over the committee. When he walked into that boardroom with his lawyer—" She shook her head. "But that's not why I'm apologizing. I'm not here because you're married to an important man." "No?" "No. I'm here because after the meeting I went back to the foundation office and actually read the history of the education initiative." Sophia pushed the small gift bag forward. "I read about how you started tutoring kids in the basement of the community center 15 years ago. How you wrote the first grant application on your lunch breaks from your teaching job. How you recruited other teachers to volunteer their time." Elena felt a flush of pride, remembering those early days, the challenges, the setbacks, and the first small victories. "You built something remarkable," Sophia continued. Long before you met Gabriel. That's why I'm apologizing. Not because your husband is Gabriel Martinez, but because you're Elena Martinez, and I should have known who you were from day one." The sincerity in Sophia's voice was unmistakable. Elena reached for the gift bag and peeked inside. It contained a small framed photograph, one Elena recognized from the early days of the program, showing her surrounded by the first group of students who had completed a full year of tutoring. "Where did you find this?" Elena asked softly, removing the frame. "In the Foundation archives. That's Lily Chen in the front row, isn't it? She's on the board now." Sophia smiled hesitantly. "Kelly helped me find it. She said it was your proudest moment, the first graduation ceremony." Elena traced a finger over the glass, remembering that day. 5 students who had gone from struggling to thriving. It seemed so small now compared to the hundreds they helped each year, but at the time it had felt like moving mountains. "Thank you for this," Elena said, genuinely touched. It was a special day. An awkward silence fell between them, broken only when Sophia's phone chimed. She checked it quickly and grimaced. "That's the caterer for the gala. There's some issue with the menu." "Let me guess," Elena said, setting down the frame. "They want to serve foie gras and champagne, and you approved it." Sophia looked surprised. "How did you know?" "Because that's what caterers always suggest for these events. But half our major donors are from religious communities that don't consume alcohol, and several board members are passionate about animal rights." Elena smiled at Sophia's stunned expression. "The traditional menu is seasonal vegetable terrine, local fish, and sparkling cider, with wine available at the bar for those who want it." "I didn't know that," Sophia admitted, looking overwhelmed. "There's so much I don't know. The board expects me to finalize all these details by tomorrow, and She stopped, visibly pulling herself together. "I'm sorry. That's not your problem." Elena considered the woman across from her, clearly in over her head, too proud to ask for help, but desperately needing it. It reminded her of so many parents who came to the center, wanting better for their children, but not knowing how to navigate the systems in place. "The Foundation office has a folder labeled Gala Logistics in the third filing cabinet," Elena said after a moment. "It has 15 years of notes about what works and what doesn't, including menus, seating arrangements, and donor preferences. Kelly can show you where it is." Relief flashed across Sophia's face. "Really? That would be incredibly helpful. And if you need someone to help you understand the history and relationships..." Elena surprised herself with what she was about to offer. "I could meet you for coffee next week. Answer some questions, and you would do that?" Sophia asked incredulously. "After how I treated you." Elena shrugged. "The gala isn't about you or me. It's about raising money for the children's programs. If helping you means a more successful event, then yes, I would." Sophia stared at her for a long moment, then shook her head slightly. "You're not at all what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. When I found out you were married to Gabriel Martinez, I thought you'd be..." Sophia gestured vaguely. "More like you?" Elena suggested gently. Sophia flushed. "More intimidating, more polished, I guess. Not so normal." Elena smiled. "I was a public school teacher when I met Gabriel. Money didn't change who I am or what matters to me." As they finished their coffee, Elena found herself warming to Sophia despite everything. There was something almost vulnerable beneath the polished exterior. A woman trying so hard to find her place that she had made a terrible misstep. After Sophia left, promising to call about that coffee meeting, Elena opened the gala invitation. Inside was not only the formal invitation, but a personal note from the board chair acknowledging her irreplaceable contributions to the Foundation's flagship program. She was setting it aside when Gabriel called. "How did it go with Sophia?" he asked without preamble. "Better than expected," Elena replied, leaning against the kitchen counter. She actually apologized. "Sincerely, I think." "Good," Gabriel said, though he didn't sound entirely convinced. The board was quite clear about what was expected. "Did you tell them to make her deliver the invitation in person?" Elena asked suspiciously. "I might have suggested that a personal touch would demonstrate genuine remorse," Gabriel admitted. "Was it uncomfortable for her?" "Tremendously," Elena said with a small smile. "But I think it was good for both of us." "Both of you?" Gabriel sounded surprised. Elena thought about the photograph, the genuine apology, and the woman trying so hard to belong that she had made a terrible mistake. Yes, sometimes people deserve a second chance, Gabriel. There was a pause, then Gabriel chuckled. This is why you're the heart of our family, Elena. I would have held a grudge for months. No, you wouldn't, she countered. You made your point, and now you'd move on. Perhaps, he conceded. So you'll attend the gala? Elena looked at the invitation on the counter. Yes, we'll go, and I think I'll help Sophia navigate the planning. She's drowning and no one's offering a hand. Except you, Gabriel said softly. Always the teacher. Old habits, Elena replied with a smile. Besides, the better the gala goes, the more money we raise for the programs. After they hung up, Elena looked again at the old photograph Sophia had given her. Those first 5 students beaming with pride at their achievements. Lily, now a board member herself. Tony, who had gone on to become an engineer. Zoe, now teaching at the same school where Elena had once worked. That was what mattered. Not guest lists or social status or whose name was on the donation. The work itself and the lives it changed. Elena placed the frame on the kitchen windowsill, where the sunlight caught it perfectly. A reminder of beginnings and the unexpected paths that followed. The week leading up to the gala transformed into an unexpected whirlwind of activity for Elena. What had begun as a simple offer to meet Sophia for coffee evolved into something much more involved when the caterer abruptly quit 3 days before the event, citing impossible demands from the committee chair. I don't understand what happened, Sophia told Elena over the phone, her voice tight with panic. I just asked if they could add a few extra seafood options and upgrade the dessert selection. Elena pinched the bridge of her nose, already knowing the answer. Did you happen to mention that you wanted these changes because the original menu wasn't sophisticated enough for your guests? A telling silence followed. Maybe something like that, Sophia admitted. Pedro has been catering this event for 8 years, Elena explained patiently. His company donates half their service fee back to the foundation. He takes pride in working with local farmers and creating sustainable menus. Oh, Sophia said in a small voice. I didn't know that. Elena checked her watch. It was just past noon. I'll call him. We've known each other a long time. But Sophia, you need to personally apologize if we want to salvage this. Of course, Sophia agreed quickly. Whatever it takes. 2 hours later, Elena sat across from Pedro in his restaurant kitchen, watching as he aggressively chopped vegetables while explaining exactly what had happened. She comes in here with her designer handbag, looks at my seasonal menu, and says it's quaint but not quite up to standard, Pedro recounted, the knife hitting the cutting board with precise force. 15 years I've been cooking in this city. My restaurant has a waiting list 2 months long. I know, Elena soothed. Your food is wonderful and no one appreciates what you do for the foundation more than I do. Pedro's chopping slowed slightly. The foundation, yes. For the children, I would do anything. But that woman, he shook his head. She's new here, Elena explained. She made a mistake. A big one, she added when Pedro snorted, but she wants to make it right. As if on cue, the kitchen door swung open and Sophia entered looking far less polished than usual in jeans and a simple blouse. She carried a large paper bag that emitted a rich, spicy aroma. Mr. Alvarez, she said, setting the bag on a clean section of counter. Thank you for seeing me. I brought tamales from Doña Lucia's shop. The woman at the foundation office said they're your favorite. Pedro's eyebrows rose slightly, but his expression remained stern. You have good sources. I also have a sincere apology, Sophia continued. I spoke disrespectfully about your work, which was both rude and ignorant. Since then, I've learned that you're not only one of the city's most respected chefs, but also one of the foundation's most generous supporters. She took a breath. I was trying to impress people at your expense, and I'm truly sorry. Pedro glanced at Elena, who gave a small, encouraging nod. My mother taught me to judge people not by one mistake, but by how they fix it, Pedro said finally, setting down his knife. So how do you plan to fix this, Mrs. Reynolds? However you suggest, Sophia said promptly. I'm here to listen, not dictate. A ghost of a smile touched Pedro's lips. Good answer. He wiped his hands on a towel. Let's talk about what's actually possible with 3 days' notice, yes? And then perhaps you can tell me more about these guests you're so eager to impress. Elena slipped out quietly as the two began discussing menu options, relieved that at least one fire had been extinguished. But her phone was already buzzing with another crisis. The flower arrangements had been doubled in size and price without board approval, and the treasurer was threatening to resign. By Friday evening, Elena had helped Sophia navigate 5 major crises, smooth over a dozen ruffled feathers, and find last-minute replacements for 2 centerpiece displays when the original flowers failed to arrive. Through it all, she was surprised to discover that Sophia was not only quick to learn from her mistakes, but genuinely dedicated to making the gala a success for the foundation, not just for her own social standing. "You've saved this event," Sophia told her as they finished reviewing the final seating chart in the foundation office. "I don't know how to thank you. Just make sure it raises lots of money for the education programs," Elena replied, stretching her back after hours hunched over tables. "That's all that matters." Sophia studied her with newfound respect. "You really mean that, don't you?" "It's not about recognition for you at all," Elena smiled. "The work speaks for itself. The children who get opportunities they wouldn't otherwise have, that's the reward. Your husband feels the same way," Sophia observed. "He's donated millions but insists on remaining an anonymous benefactor. Most men with his wealth would want their name on buildings." "Gabriel understands what matters," Elena said simply. "Speaking of which, I should get home. He's probably wondering if I've moved into the office permanently." As Elena gathered her things, Sophia hesitated, then asked, "Will you help me welcome guests tomorrow night? I'd like to introduce you to some of the new donors as the founder of the Education Initiative." The request caught Elena by surprise. "Are you sure? As chair, that's usually your spotlight moment." "I'm sure," Sophia said firmly. "It's time people knew whose vision they're really supporting." When Elena arrived home, she found Gabriel in the kitchen, attempting to cook pasta with limited success. A pot of water boiled over as she walked in, and he lunged to move it off the burner. "My cooking skills deteriorate rapidly when you're not home," he admitted, wiping up the spill. "I was starting to think the foundation had hired you full-time." Elena laughed, setting down her bag and moving to help him. "It's been a busy week." "So I've noticed," Gabriel said, wrapping an arm around her waist and kissing her temple. "You've been rescuing Sophia's gala single-handedly, from what I hear." "News travels fast," Elena commented, stirring the pasta. "The board chairman called me today. He said you've managed to prevent at least 3 disasters that would have tanked the entire event." Gabriel leaned against the counter, watching her work. "He also mentioned that Sophia seems to have undergone a remarkable transformation under your guidance." Elena shrugged. "She's learning. She made mistakes because she was trying to prove herself in a new place. I remember what that feels like." Gabriel studied his wife's face. "You've forgiven her completely, haven't you?" "Holding grudges is exhausting," Elena replied. "Besides, she's actually quite capable when she's not trying to impress everyone. She has good instincts for fundraising. So my master plan to teach her a lesson has instead given her a mentor and friend." Gabriel chuckled, shaking his head. "Not quite what I expected." "The best revenge is helping someone become better," Elena said with a small smile. Now she understands what the foundation is really about, and she's channeling all that energy into something positive. Only you could turn this situation into a teaching opportunity. Gabriel pulled her close. "Do you know what I thought when I first met you at that fundraiser all those years ago? That I talked too much about educational reform?" Elena teased. "That you were the most genuine person I'd ever met," Gabriel said softly. "In a room full of people trying to impress each other, you were just yourself, passionate about helping kids learn, completely uninterested in who had the most money or power. I was trying to get donations for the tutoring program," Elena reminded him. "I wasn't there to socialize." "Exactly. And 15 years later, you're still exactly the same person." Gabriel brushed a strand of hair from her face. "That's rare, Elena. Money changes most people. Power changes them even more. But not you." The pasta timer beeped, breaking the moment. As they prepared dinner together, Gabriel filled Elena in on his week at work while she recounted the various gala disasters she'd helped avert. "Oh, I almost forgot," Gabriel said as they sat down to eat. "A package arrived for you today." He reached over to the counter and handed her a flat, rectangular box tied with a simple ribbon. "What's this?" Elena asked, setting down her fork. "No idea. It was delivered by courier this afternoon." Elena untied the ribbon and opened the box to find a silver bracelet nestled on velvet. It was beautifully crafted but not ostentatious, featuring small charms shaped like books, apples, and graduation caps. A note card tucked beside it read, "For tomorrow night. A small thank you for saving the gala and teaching me what truly matters. Sophia, that was unexpected, Elena said, lifting the bracelet. Gabriel examined it, nodding appreciatively. Tasteful. And the education theme is thoughtful. It's a peace offering, Elena said, slipping it onto her wrist. And a nice one, later that evening. As Elena laid out her dress for the gala, a simple but elegant blue gown she'd worn to several previous events, her phone chimed with a text from Sophia. Final donor count confirmed. We've already surpassed last year's attendance by 20%. Your husband's new scholarship announcement has everyone talking. See you tomorrow. Elena showed the message to Gabriel, who smiled with satisfaction. The Elena Martinez Scholarship Fund will be the highlight of the evening. I've arranged for some of your former students to speak about the impact you've had on their lives. You did what? Elena's eyes widened. Gabriel, you know I don't like being the center of attention. It's not about attention, he countered gently. It's about inspiration. These donors need to see the real impact of their money, not just in numbers, but in lives changed. And no one has changed more lives through education in this community than you have. Elena sighed, knowing he was right, but still feeling uncomfortable with the spotlight. Just promise me it won't be too much. I promise it will be exactly enough, Gabriel replied cryptically, pressing a kiss to her forehead. As they prepared for bed, Elena reflected on the whirlwind week. What had begun as a painful exclusion had somehow transformed into something unexpectedly positive. The foundation was stronger for the scrutiny it had received. The gala would likely raise more money than ever before, and Sophia, for all her initial missteps, was proving to be a quick study in what truly mattered. Sometimes, Elena thought as she drifted towards sleep, the best way to respond to being erased was not by erasing back, but by drawing a bigger, more inclusive picture, one where everyone could find their place. Gabriel's approach might have been more direct, but together they had created something better than either revenge or resentment. Tomorrow, night would tell whether that approach had truly succeeded. The evening of the gala arrived with the kind of perfect early summer weather that event planners dream, about clear skies, gentle breezes, and a sunset that painted the city in shades of gold. The historic Bellwood Hotel had been transformed for the occasion, its grand ballroom adorned with tasteful decorations that managed to feel both elegant and welcoming. Elena stood before the mirror in their bedroom, smoothing the fabric of her blue gown. She had worn it to 2 previous galas, but it still fit perfectly and never went out of style. The silver bracelet Sophia had given her caught the light as she adjusted her simple pearl earrings. You look beautiful, Gabriel said, appearing in the doorway in his tuxedo. Even after all these years, the sight of him dressed formally still made her heart skip a beat. And you clean up pretty well yourself, she replied with a smile. Ready? Almost. Gabriel crossed to his dresser and returned with a long, slim velvet box. I have something for you. Elena raised an eyebrow. Gabriel, we agreed no new jewelry for events. This dress doesn't need anything fancy. It's not fancy. It's meaningful. He opened the box to reveal a delicate silver necklace with a small pendant shaped like an open book. Engraved on its tiny pages were the words, "One life at a time." It's our motto, Elena said softly, touching the pendant. It was the phrase she had used when she first started the tutoring program, reminding discouraged volunteers that even helping one child was worth all their efforts. I had it made last year for your birthday, but then that flood happened at the community center, and you were so focused on repairs that it never seemed like the right moment. Gabriel removed the necklace from the box. Tonight feels right. Elena turned, lifting her hair so he could fasten it around her neck. The pendant nestled perfectly above the neckline of her dress. Thank you, she whispered, touching it again. It's perfect. As their car approached the hotel, Elena could see a line of vehicles waiting to drop off guests. Bigger crowd than usual, she noted. Word got out about the new scholarship fund, Gabriel said. And apparently Sophia has quite the social network. She convinced several people from her husband's financial circle to attend who've never supported education initiatives before. The car pulled up to the entrance, where the red carpet was lined with small lanterns. A photographer snapped pictures as guests arrived, and Elena was surprised to see local news crews setting up near the entrance. There's press here, she said. Suddenly nervous, Gabriel squeezed her hand. The foundation arranged it. More publicity means more awareness for the programs. As they stepped from the car, Elena heard someone call her name. Sophia hurried toward them, resplendent in a deep green gown, looking far more relaxed than she had all week. "You're here." She embraced Elena warmly. "Everything's running smoothly so far. Pedro's appetizers are a hit, and we've already received 3 major donation pledges during the cocktail hour." "That's wonderful," Elena said, genuinely pleased. Sophia noticed the necklace and smiled. "That's beautiful, and perfect for tonight." She touched her own wrist, where she wore a similar book-themed charm bracelet. "Great minds think alike," she said, nodding toward Gabriel. "I had nothing to do with that one," Gabriel said, indicating Sophia's bracelet. "Some people just recognize quality when they see it." Sophia's smile widened at the compliment. "I need to greet some other guests, but I'll find you inside for the introduction." She hurried off to welcome a couple just arriving. "Introduction?" Elena asked, turning to Gabriel. "Just a small recognition of your work," he assured her, guiding her inside with a hand at the small of her back. The ballroom was filled with people, many of whom Elena recognized from previous years, along with plenty of new faces. What struck her immediately was the atmosphere. Unlike previous galas that had sometimes felt stiff and formal, the room buzzed with genuine energy and conversation. In one corner, she spotted Pedro proudly explaining his locally sourced appetizers to an interested group. Near the bar, several board members chatted animatedly with people she didn't recognize. "Gabriel, Elena." The board chairman, Robert Chen, approached them with a broad smile. "The woman of the hour." "Hardly," Elena demurred. "Sophia has done all the work." "With your guidance," Robert countered. "And speaking of Sophia, what a revelation she's turned out to be. After our meeting last week, I wasn't sure she'd be the right fit for the committee. Now I'm thinking we should keep her on permanently." "She's a quick learner," Elena agreed, "and she has excellent connections." "More than that," Robert said, lowering his voice slightly. "She understands what we're really about now. This morning she proposed a mentorship program, pairing donors directly with scholarship recipients. Not just for funding, but for professional guidance. It's brilliant." Elena glanced across the room where Sophia was introducing a young woman, one of the community center's former students. Now in college, to an older couple who listened intently. "She's creating relationships, not just collecting checks," Elena observed with approval. "Exactly," Robert touched her arm. "I should continue making rounds, but stay close. Your moment is coming up soon." As Robert moved away, Gabriel guided Elena toward the display area near the back of the ballroom. Here, poster boards showcased photos and stories from the education programs, alongside artwork created by the children. New this year was a digital presentation showing the growth of the initiative over time, starting with that first small group in the community center basement. "This is amazing," Elena said, watching as images cycled through 15 years of history. "Who put this together?" "Sophia," Gabriel replied. "She spent 3 days in the archives with Kelly, gathering photos and statistics. Apparently, she has a background in marketing that no one knew about." Before Elena could respond, the lights dimmed slightly and a microphone squeaked to life at the front of the room. Sophia stood on a small platform, resplendent in her green gown but with none of the nervousness Elena had witnessed throughout the week. "Good evening, friends," Sophia began, her voice clear and confident. "Thank you all for coming to the annual Bellwood Charity Gala. As the new chair of the committee, I'm honored to welcome both our longtime supporters and those joining us for the first time." She paused, scanning the room. "When I took on this role 6 weeks ago, I thought I understood what the Bellwood Foundation was about. I saw impressive statistics, generous donors, and a worthy cause. What I didn't see, what I failed to appreciate, was the heart behind those numbers." A hush fell over the room as Sophia continued. "Every successful organization has an origin story. The Bellwood Education Initiative began 15 years ago, when a young teacher noticed that some of her students needed extra help beyond what they could receive during school hours. Instead of simply noting the problem, she decided to do something about it. The digital display behind Sophia changed to show that first photograph. Elena surrounded by 5 beaming children at their tutoring. Graduation. The same photo Sophia had gifted her days earlier. That teacher started with 5 students in a basement room with donated books and second-hand supplies, Sophia continued. Today, the program serves over 300 children annually and has helped send more than 70 students to college, who might otherwise never have had the opportunity. Elena felt Gabriel's arm slip around her waist, steadying her as all eyes in the room began turning in their direction. Tonight, we're not just raising money for a cause, Sophia said. We're honoring a vision and the woman whose dedication made it a reality. Someone who never sought recognition or praise, who quietly changed lives while asking for nothing in return. She extended a hand toward Elena. Would Elena Martinez please join me? Gabriel gave her a gentle nudge forward. Go on, he whispered. You've earned this moment. Heart-pounding, Elena made her way through the crowd, which parted respectfully, many faces smiling in recognition. As she reached the platform, Sophia took her hand and drew her forward. Most of you know Elena as Gabriel Martinez's wife, Sophia said into the microphone, still holding Elena's hand. But long before she married one of our city's most successful entrepreneurs, Elena was quietly building something just as impressive, a program that has transformed hundreds of young lives in our community. Elena felt her cheeks warm at the public praise, but Sophia wasn't finished. What some of you may not know, what I certainly didn't understand when I first took this position, is that the foundation as we know it today exists, largely because of Elena's initial vision and ongoing dedication. Sophia turned to face Elena directly now. I made a serious mistake when I first became chair. In my eagerness to put my own stamp on this event, I failed to recognize and honor the Foundation's history. For that, I apologize not just to Elena, but to everyone who has been part of this journey from the beginning. A ripple of murmurs passed through the crowd, but Sophia continued with calm dignity. That mistake, however, led to something wonderful. First, it led to meeting Gabriel Martinez. A wave of appreciative laughter moved through the audience, who helped me understand the importance of respecting those who built what we now enjoy. But more importantly, it led to getting to know Elena herself, who could have rightfully held a grudge but instead chose to teach and guide me. Sophia gestured to the screen behind them, which now showed a montage of images from the education programs over the years. This is Elena's legacy. And tonight, thanks to a generous founding donation from Gabriel Martinez, we are establishing the Elena Martinez Scholarship Fund, which will help graduates of our programs pursue degrees in education and social work, creating a new generation of teachers and mentors who understand firsthand the challenges our students face. Applause broke out across the ballroom, and Elena felt tears pricking at her eyes. This was so much more than the simple acknowledgement Gabriel had promised. I've asked some special guests to help us launch this new chapter, Sophia continued, gesturing toward the back of the room. Elena turned to see 5 familiar faces entering together, the original 5 students from her first tutoring group, now adults with careers and families of their own. Lily Chen, now a pediatrician, Tony Vasquez, an engineer, Zoe Wu, a teacher at Elena's former school, Ray Patterson, who ran a community sports program, and David Curry, who had just finished law school. Tears flowed freely down Elena's cheeks now as her first students joined her on the platform, each embracing her warmly. These 5 individuals were the beginning, Sophia said to the rapt audience. Tonight, they'll share briefly how one teacher's belief in them changed their lives, and how they're now paying that forward. As Elena stood surrounded by the living proof of her work, she caught Gabriel's eye in the crowd. He raised his glass slightly in a private toast, his expression one of pure pride and love. This, she realized, had been his plan all along, not just to restore her to a guest list, but to ensure that her contributions could never be erased again. One by one, her former students spoke about their journeys, each story moving the audience visibly. By the time David, the last speaker, concluded his remarks about how Elena had helped him apply to law school despite his family's financial struggles, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of congratulations, conversations, and record-breaking donation pledges. The Elena Martinez Scholarship Fund launched with over $3 million in initial commitments, far exceeding anyone's expectations. As the night wound down, Elena found herself by the dessert table with Sophia, both taking a brief moment away from the crowds. Thank you, Elena said simply. That was more than I ever expected, Sophia shook her head. No, thank you for showing me what real leadership looks like. It's not about being in charge or getting recognition. It's about serving something bigger than yourself. That's a lesson worth learning, Elena agreed, though perhaps there were less dramatic ways to teach it. Both women laughed, the tension of the past weeks finally dissolving completely. Across the room, Gabriel watched his wife's radiant smile and raised his glass in another private toast, not to revenge or retribution, but to something far more powerful. The quiet dignity of a woman whose true worth could never be diminished by anyone's oversight, and whose greatest revenge was simply being exactly who she had always been.